Hello and welcome back to more Versus Live. I'm Todd Anderson.
I'm Ross Merriam.
We got Mr. Robbo over in the booth taking y'all's questions, comments, and concerns from the Twitch app. Make sure to @SCG Tour for anything you might want to say to us or ask us. And Rob's going to be combing through and picking his faves. We've had one match so far in the books. We had a Mardu aggressive deck built by one Dylan Hand, your teammate on Team BCW. Also felt okay. Like I'm trying to let you plug your team.
I thought you were continuing there. My bad.
It's fine.
Yeah, he is on our team.
Great.
I can confirm this.
He's also a writer for StarCityGames.com, and he actually wrote an article about this deck that we just played. So if you want to check that out, make sure whenever you have some downtime to go check it out on StarCityGames.com. Your green-white deck, Tulsamir, the Friend Two Wolves?
Friend of Wolves.
Friend Two Wolves.
Friend Two Wolves.
I looked at it.
Yep, 2 wolves.
Got him. Didn't draw it that much, but the times you did draw it looked really good.
Card is very impressive.
And the times where you didn't draw it, you wanted to draw it. Like a lot.
I wanted to draw it every turn of every game.
Nice.
Except the game where I was stuck on lands early.
2 lands.
But then I drew it. I already had one, so I didn't need one, and I needed lands.
Sure. So that match, the Mardu deck a little too aggressive. Hero Precinct 1 looks quite good, and giving it 2 new cards to play with in Cruel Celebrant and I want to say Butcher. Dreadhorde Butcher, that's the one.
Yep.
Both multicolored 2-drops that give you a little more punch, either in the early game with Dreadhorde Butcher or in the late game by just having a bunch of creatures be able to attack and drain your opponent with Cruel Celebrant. Looks like it might give Hero Precinct 1 enough food to really churn that engine.
Yeah, that's the kind of card that needs a critical mass of quality enablers for it. Mm-hmm. So every single extra multicolored spell that we get is going to be really nice. We saw early lists last season when people were building around it were like human-based, and they had Benelish Marshal, which is single-colored, and more 1-drops that were single-colored. That list pared it down to just Gutterbones and Footlight Fiend. So you really just have Gutterbones and Hero as your single color cards. So huge density there. You've got more ways to take advantage of them with Heroic Reinforcements and Judith, and like Dreadhorde Butcher drawing out removal lets your other synergies come together more effectively because it's such a powerful standalone card. So even though it doesn't super synergize well with the deck outside of it getting sacrificed to Fireblade Artist, just being powerful is important because it's taxes your opponent's removal so that your synergies can come together.
All right, so that was match 1. Now we got match 2 coming up for you. Your deck is a Simic Proliferate deck. You want to talk about that for a few?
Yeah, so pretty mid-rangey here. We've got the Explore package, still a boatload of mana creatures, but then Evolution Sage, a card that, if Proliferate is good, that is going to be a really powerful card.
Keep talking.
Tuna, do you not know what the card does?
Keep talking.
A very easy way to just proliferate over and over again. You got a bunch of creatures that give themselves +1/+1 counters because of Explorer and Wild Growth Walker. We've got Hydroid Krasis, so even when you cast it as a 2/2, you can start building onto that because it has counters. And then we have Roalesh Apex Hybrid.
Yeah, it's Roalesk. It's 5 mana, 4/5, Flying Trample. When ETBs, put 2 +1/+1 counters on another target creature, and when he dies, you proliferate twice.
Yeah, so another way to get counters on creatures, and then it's a big flyer. They're going to have to kill it. When it dies, you'll get some you'll get some proliferate action. I've got a whole host of different planeswalkers. We've got Vivian, Champion of the Wilds, Vivian Reed, which are the ones that I've been playing with a lot. But I'm also playing one Jiangu. The one that puts +1/+1 counters on creatures and then lets them tap for mana.
Yeah, it's the static that lets them tap for mana, right? That seems pretty powerful in a Proliferate deck where almost all your creatures can get counters or start with counters. And his ability to put counters on your creatures is also quite good.
Yeah. Then we've got one in Kiora that lets us untap our creatures that make mana to generate more mana, give our things vigilance maybe if we want that. We've got a bunch of creatures with 4 power that can draw cards with it. And play offense and defense that way. We've got a couple of Zaganas that play well with the whole +1/+1 counter theme. Not a ton of disruption, so I think game 1 in this matchup is going to be rough, but we got plenty of disruption in the sideboard.
Yeah, I chose this matchup specifically because you had a bunch of ways after sideboard to interact with Wilderness Reclamation and friends. So game 1 might be a little rough. If it's a slaughter, then we'll just move right to sideboard game, so you have a lot more interaction, and we'll get to see a lot of counterplay between things like Rao's Outburst and trying to fight through negates and disdain Peaceful Strokes and things like that. My side of things, I'm going to be playing Temur Reclamation. This deck is something I've had a lot of experience with in the last few months, but it looks like it got a few new toys. Now, let's go over the new cards one at a time. First off, Row's Outburst. 4 mana instant, deals 3 to a target, and then you do the Row plus ability where you look at the top 2.
Sleight of hand.
Yeah, look at top 2. 1 goes to the graveyard, though. Look at top 2. 1 in the hand, 1 in the graveyard. Pretty powerful effect for a card that can kill a creature. We don't get to see that a whole lot, and we've talked about Prophetic Bolt in the past, and for those of you who have been playing Magic for 20 years, Prophetic Bolt, 5 mana instant, deal 4 to a target, and then look at the top 4, put 1 in your hand, and the rest on the bottom. Effectively was Impulse, which we haven't seen in a while, but we did get a sorcery speed version in the last set. But regardless, Row's Outburst functions a lot like Prophetic Bolt, and it allows you to hold up mana, potentially kill something, and then also turn that into card advantage. And if your opponent's not playing creatures, it is a damage source, so you can actually target your opponent or a Planeswalker and still continue to churn through your deck looking for those really powerful effects.
Yeah, I think one of the neat things about it is when you play Wilderness Reclamation and untap your lands, if your opponent goes Teferi minus on your Reclamation, you get to kill the Teferi and put the Reclamation back into your hand.
Boom. Yes, that's pretty cool.
Well, not immediately. It'll be the top. You'll draw it on your next turn, so you'll be able to redeploy it, and you'll deal with the Teferi. So definitely a card that makes Teferi a pretty poor answer to Reclamation, which is quite nice because that's one of the few ways that control decks have to deal with that. There's more to Fly too, but
yeah. So Row's Outburst, pretty powerful. I think it's really strong. Much like Chemist's Insight, it gives you this immediate thing to do once you cast Wilderness Reclamation that has a really high ceiling. Except this one is a bit more interactive. And when I was building this deck, I wasn't sure if I should just add more Row's Outburst in that 4 mana slot, or if I should just exchange it for Chemist's Insight to begin with. And there's a chance that the Row's Outburst is so good that I end up playing like 4 of it and only 2 or 3 Chemist's Insight because of how it churns through your deck. But Chemist's is really good because it gives you multiple ways to utilize the extra mana that you get from Wilderness Reclamation. So
there's also a desire to keep hitting land drops, and it's hard to do that with effects like Row's Outburst where you're only seeing the one card. You want to be digging for a spell. Whereas Insight will give you a volume that will end up letting you make extra land drops and then give you more mana.
All right, next new card that we're going to be playing, Row Storm Conduit. This Planeswalker, it got leaked a little while ago. It was confirmed yesterday on Twitter. And Storm Conduit is a 4 mana Planeswalker, starts with 4, ticks up to 6 for a Scry 1, ticks down for 2 to fork your next spell. Double Cast, I think, is the card.
Twin Cast?
No, there's a card from, I believe it's M19 called Double Cast. That's literally red. The next instant or sorcery you play gets copied.
Oh.
So the minus, I believe, is just that. Now, the static effect, all the Planeswalkers from this set have a static effect, and Row's is pretty interesting. It says whenever you cast or copy an instant or sorcery, you get to deal 1 damage to an opponent or Planeswalker. Now, there's this really weird interaction with Row Storm Conduit and 2 copies of Expansion Explosion. Now, the way this works, it's really stupid. You cast an Opt, right? Triggers Row, deals 1 of them, right?
Do you want to lay the cards on the table? That might help.
Yeah. That's actually a really smart idea. Okay, so we need 2 copies of Expansion Explosion, and we'll do Opt. But it works with any instant or sorcery. It even works with your opponent's instant or sorcery.
So. Anything you can target with Expansion.
All right, so let's say I cast Opt. That's 1 damage targeting your opponent, right? So let's say the damage resolves. Opt is still on the stack. You play Expansion, copy Opt, targeting Opt, not copying. So with Expansion, targeting Opt, you put this on the stack, and then you play another Expansion, targeting Expansion. And now there's an infinite loop created with Expansion copying Expansion over and over again, and that it deals infinite to your opponent. And I have confirmed that this has worked. I was told this worked even before it was fully confirmed or whatever. And I was told from someone who works at Wizards of the Coast that this was tested, and they thought it was fine. So even though it's kind of cheesy, like you can combo kill your opponent for 5 mana on turn 5.
Do it on turn 4 with a spiral.
It revolves around having quite a few cards together. It involves making sure you can keep a Planeswalker on the battlefield for a turn, and it involves having a 1 mana thing or your opponent playing an instant. So it's not the easiest combo to assemble, but these are all cards that I want to play in my deck anyway. And so the fact that if I just draw 2 expansions and a Row, I just get to kill my opponent. That's pretty cool. It's kind of cheesy, but it's still pretty cool. But the abilities on Rouse Stormcon are actually quite good themselves. With Wolf's Reclamation on the battlefield, if you just go minus, move to instep, float, untap, float, expansion, explosion, deal your opponent 10, it copies it and deals them 10 more. So, it allows you to do anything that your deck does twice, and in the meanwhile, it also deals an extra damage every time you cast or copy an instant or sorcery. So,
yeah, every ability is relevant. Right. You even just pluses to scry, dig through your deck, make sure you don't flood, find your expansion.
Yeah. All right. Well, that's the deck. That's how it works. If you have a question for me, Rob, hit me.
Will Pulliam actually just asked, do you think, given that you now have this Ral and this combo, do you play less Niv Mizzets in the deck?
I actually considered not playing any Niv Mizzet, but I think in my main deck, I think Niv is probably better than Search for Ascanta, and I'm not 100% right. Like, I probably should be trying out a version that doesn't play Niv and just plays 3 or 4 Ral and 2 or 3 Search for Ascanta. But I want to stay pretty close to the original version of the deck and just try to fit certain new cards here or there. And I want to see, obviously how good Ral is, which is why I'm playing 3. But there's a chance that I should just be playing 4 because of how the combo works.
Yeah, it's like copying Chemist's Insight is good.
Copying a shock to kill 2 creatures or whatever.
Copy the Prophetic Bolt, just kill 2 things, draw 2 cards.
Yeah, and I don't think that people are understanding that like the damage from Ral's static ability adds up, and you can sometimes just kill your opponent with a mishmash of Chemist's Insights and freaking Opt and Shock and Ral's Outburst. Like, the damage adds up over time, and if your opponent just doesn't kill your Ral, like, they will die.
Yeah, I've noticed you switched to Shock because now you have extra burn and way more reach to add that angle to your deck.
Well, the original version actually had 6 Shocks, and then I was playing Ral's Outburst, and then they're like, oh yeah, also Ral. I was like, fine, I'll put it in the deck. So, all right, well, let's go ahead and get to the games. All right, pretty standard opener here.
Ditto, standard opener.
All right, you're up.
Forest Liner Elves.
Shock it. 18. Boom. Ross, how many times do I have to deal with a turn 1 Llanowar Elves?
At least 1 more after this.
Are you like 4 for 5 or 5 for 5?
I think he's 5 for... No, we played... This is game 5 today. I'm pretty sure he's 5 for 5.
Yeah.
No, he's 4 for 5. He missed once.
Yeah, I played a tap Temple Garden once.
Okay. Draw for turn.
That sounds about average.
Yep.
I have 4 of them in my deck, so I'm 4 for 5.
All right. We'll
4
bottom
4.
land and play this tap. Your turn. My main phase is specifically because if I hit a tapped land, I want to play it. But if I hit a shock, I also want to go ahead and do it while he's tapped out because I'm not entirely sure what's in his deck. I'm at 15.
I'm going to play a Breeding Pool and an Incubation Druid.
Okay.
Pass.
All right. Your turn. It's possible that with Rouse Outburst, we need to be playing a bit more interaction. Like just more cheap removal.
I would like to play a Jiang Yangu.
All right, that says all your things with counters.
Add mana.
And then you can minus put a counter on this.
Yep.
Okay, Jing resolves.
I would like to play into your removal spell and try to add a counter.
I don't have it.
That's pretty good.
So you have access to 4 mana this turn if you want.
I would like to play an Evolution Sage.
Sure.
I'll play a land and proliferate.
Sure.
Counter.
Yeah, I'm dead.
Attack for 4.
I'm at 11.
You can go.
Yeah, we didn't draw another way to interact here, which is problematic. Well, that was a good draw. Let's go Reclamation. Then we'll untap, and I'm going to go ahead and I think I outburst this. Top 2.
Sense to me.
We'll keep this one and bend this one. Your turn.
Okay. So I want to have lethal damage for next turn so that Todd is forced to continue interacting with me, especially when he has Reclamation out. So the question is how best I do that. I'm a little worried about the possibility of Fiery Cannonade plus expansion, so I'm going to try to get things to 5 toughness if I can.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't really have a good way of doing that for multiple creatures. So this is currently 6 power.
Yep.
So this is actually just lethal in
2 turns.
2 turns anyway. I could play and adapt this. That would mean I don't attack here, and then put a 3rd counter on this, so I'd have 2 5-power things and attack you to 7. Because then removal spell on Branch Walker, and you would still be dead as long as the Jiang is there. So you'd have to kill 2 things to survive, and I'd be well protected against a copied Sweeper. So I kind of like that. So let's play Incubation Druid, adapt it, minus here, and attack for 4.
Okay.
Brings you to 7. Pass the turn.
Draw turn. Pretty sure I'm dead. Gotta figure out a way to kill the Branch Walker, and then I only take 6.
Well, Jiang can put
I
a counter
know.
on.
I'm killing the Jang probably. Whatever. Just gonna do a thing. Play and opt and deal 1 to the Jang. I guess I could just minus. No, let's not do that yet, because I'm gonna probably have to minus the Ral after I find the thing. So let's play the opt. Shoot this for 1. Bottom this. Draw a card. Let's go minus on this. Trigger this. We'll play 2 Growth Spirals. Kill this. Deal 1 to you. So first Growth Spiral, second Growth Spiral.
So I'm at 19.
And I am dead. Okay.
Nice.
I needed a little more time. Had a little too much of the spinning and costing 4 mana type things.
The Jiang put a counter on Druid, play Evolution Sage, proliferate everything.
Yeah, it's almost like every time you play Llanowar Elf, it cascades, and I can't answer everything. Also, I now know that I should just never kill a Llanowar Elf in your deck, because holy crap, if I let your Incubation Druid ever get a counter, I'm in some trouble. Alright, so that was game 1. We're going to play another pre-board game. I can see if my deck does anything before you get 100 counter spells and disenchants. Please. Sure, thanks.
I mean, that game you had a turn 1 shock and a Ral. What's the prophetic bolt Rals?
I didn't do anything on 2 or 3, basically.
Yeah.
I gave you 2 unfettered turns. I understand. If I had held the shock for Incubation Druid, I might have been okay.
Maybe.
But maybe not. I probably just got severely outmanned early. Alright, well, whatever. We're going to play another game. Rob, hit me with a question while we're doing this.
Do you think that Ral not being able to target creatures with its ability is a large drawback to the card, or?
I mean, if it could, it would be insane. It would literally just be a machine. Every single turn, right. You would machine gun your opponent's entire side of the board.
Yeah, that would be.
If I was able to just shoot creatures in that spot with Ral's ability, I think I might have won that game. Considering how far I was behind, that is ludicrous. All right, let's do one more question. I might mulligan here, but I'm gonna think about it while.
I'm gonna need another question from the chat first.
Fine. I'm gonna keep a bad one, but I'm keeping.
So am I.
Oh, right. Well, sorry. What about 2 or 3 of the new Saheeli in the board?
Yeah,
post-board?
Maybe it might end up being better than something like Murmuring Mystic, but Mystic being 4 mana versus 3 is a huge deal. But having flyers as well as a 1/5 body to play defense with is pretty sweet.
Also, you're not really using the -2 with Saheeli, right?
Right.
You don't have creatures you want to copy.
Right. So it's I don't think it's that good, but we'll see. All right, go.
Llanowar Elves. What?
What, you didn't draw it?
This is bull honky.
All right, here you go.
How are you supposed to play Magic under these conditions?
Yeah, exactly. Wild Growth Walker, you're up.
Tilt. All right, we might just scratch this game because I kept a 2-lander with Growth Spiral, but yeah, go, okay. I guess, but still. So I might need to shock here. I am going to shock here. I'm Growth Spiraling, but I didn't get to play an extra land, but that's fine.
Okay, well, I'm going to play into the shock anyway because it's way more mana efficient, and I'm losing a thing regardless.
All right, we'll shock the J-Light with the trigger on the stack so he doesn't get the thing.
Forest and Wild Growth Walker. Yeah, I'll keep that one on top.
All right.
Attack you for 3.
All right, you're at 26.
Yep.
I'm go down to 15.
You can go.
Hey. Thinking. Go.
Okay, second wild growth. Branch Walker.
In response to the Branch Walker, I'm going to outburst the new one.
That is pretty good.
Top 2. And you get one more counter and a land.
Attack for
We'll
4.
go to 11.
That's the turn.
Draw for turn. Land. Reclamation, end of turn, trigger, float, untap. So 6.
You have 11.
19, 11. 7 of this, and I'll draw 7. Your turn, I got to discard 2. Pitch 2 lands.
That's pretty good.
Yeah, it was not bad. Honestly, the Roth Outburst looked pretty sweet there. My hand was not great. And then it became perfect. I mean, I just hit lands, I guess, but needed the lands for sure.
I'm not going to lie. I think I'm going to be playing in Richmond, so I think week 1 I'm just going to blindly play Temur Reclamation.
Oh, yeah. Dude, it's great. I'm not sure how good the Rao combo is, but Rao, even though it looked... I mean, if I'd had more time in game 1, it would have been quite good.
I'm at 26.
Yep, and I'm at 11.
So a 6th land gives Todd access to 18 mana. That's an expansion for 14. If he plays a Ral first, that's an expansion for 10 that he can copy. So that's 20. So I wouldn't be dead to that. But
True.
if he has Ral plus expansion or plus explosion, he'd kill both my creatures if I play this aggressively. If I play this... So there's an aggressive line with this, and then a conservative line with this. I guess I could double spell this turn, but that doesn't seem particularly good. That's that's just not that's like a middle way line that doesn't do anything good. I don't think I am at all likely to kill Todd next turn, so I think I just have to hope that his hand isn't great, and I'll go to 24, play Vivian, and kill one of the Reclamations. Attack you to 9. Yeah, this was about the worst possible.
All right, untap with a Niv, or untap with the Reclamation after casting the Niv. I'm going to play a Chemisters. First draw with Niv, shoot Viv for 1. Chemister Resolve, do 1 here, 1 here. And...
Didn't think about Niv Mizzet.
Your turn. I will move to discard, and I will discard a land.
Probably should have not played the Vivian then. I could have played Roalesk that turn and made my Branch Walker a 4/3, and then had Vivian back for a Niv Mizzet. I think I would have been good against Niv, but like, God, you probably have something else you could have done.
Oh, yeah. My hand's nuts.
Yeah, I mean,
I drew 7 cards and killed a thing.
Yeah. You didn't have lands, and then you drew lands. Your hand played out perfectly.
Mm-hmm.
Which is what happens when you can land light hands and draw lands.
Mm-hmm.
Wild Growth Walker.
Sure.
Jade Light Ranger.
Triggers on the stack. I'm going to cast Growth Spiral. First draw. Let's shoot this. Second draw with Growth Spiral. Don't get to play the land because I'm stupid, and this resolves.
Why don't you get to...
I mean, I didn't have a land. I discarded a land.
Okay.
And I should have just discarded it.
So you're shooting me?
Yeah. Second one, you go to 23, and then you go
up to 29. Bin the Krasis, bin the Roalesk. You can go.
Right, draw for turn. I think he might just be dead.
Yeah? Do you have an explosion?
I do. And I have another Reclamation, so...
So that's 12, 14. So it's for 10. So that...
6, 12... 13, 14, so it's 10,
that's 21
20.
plus 25.
Yeah,
It's 26.
Well, I haven't played a land yet, so let's go Opt, I'm going to shoot you for 1, draw a card with Niv.
So 27.
Opt resolves. Bottom of stop.
I think even if you find a land, you're 1 short.
Not if I have 2 copies of Shock in hand, which I do. Go to 7. Attack you down to 23.
22.
22. You're right. All right, move this up. Float.
Yeah.
2.
You have 16 mana.
Okay.
So you go to 14, double shock me, go to 16, and then
these deal 3
21.
each.
Yeah. I'm dead.
An explosion for double +1.
Yep.
Okay. And Rouse Outburst.
Very easy to kill with an Visit Explosion because each card deals 2 damage.
Right. All right, Mr. Rob. Any questions before we go to sideboard break?
Yeah, we've got a couple here.
All right.
How would you build your sideboard different given that you have so many Rowls main deck? Like in this sideboard you currently have the 5 mana Rowl, but was there any consideration to maximizing that still post board?
I mean, I like the diversity when it comes to stuff like that. I mean, if I'm going to play the Rowl combo and you want to go full-blown 4 Rowl, that's fine. I'm not sure how good it is yet, but there's also a chance that Rowl is just good enough to play 4 of. So it's kind of just like this incidental combo that you just get to have in your deck when all of your cards are important parts of your deck. So I don't want to knock Rowl and say that you shouldn't be playing 4, but it is legendary. Like you can only have 1 at a time, and it doesn't protect itself. You don't always get a benefit immediately because the minus requires you to cast something, and the plus is just a scry. Like it's not even that big of a deal. So I'm not sure if playing 4 copies of Rowl is correct. I like the Is It Viceroy on the sideboard just because it's guaranteed to get value when you cast it, either by killing a creature or plussing in to draw cards. So I just think it's solid. Anything else?
Yeah, Ross, what did you think about Benthic Biomancer in your deck?
This is the 1-drop Merfolk.
Yeah, that when you put a counter on it, it loots.
Yeah, you don't actually have that many ways to put a counter on it besides adapting. There's just the 1 Jiang. So you really have to spend the mana to adapt it, which is really not what you want to be doing with that card. It's good in Merfolk because they have Deep Root Lead and Kumena to do that. Mm-hmm. Once you get it going, though, proliferating is really nice. You would also be building the deck in a much more aggressive direction. I think if you had just had like a bunch more Jiangs and more 1-drops, you probably wouldn't be playing Incubation Druid in that deck. Maybe that's kind of like a Pelt Collector deck, maybe, but that's a different way to proliferate. Like Pelt Collector
sounds pretty cool.
Yeah, Pelt Collector, that card. Other ways to
well, there's also
there's
it's a blue-green for a 1/1 flyer, I think, and when it ETBs, you get to put a counter on something, but it can be itself.
That's a Merfolk too.
Yeah, and then you can spend 5 to proliferate. So that card might be good in your deck. I mean, it's really good with Jang too.
Maybe you just build a Merfolk deck with these proliferate cards. And
I mean, Jang kind of functions like Cryptolithrites, right? So I mean, it's a little harder to turn on, but like that kind of effect is really powerful. Like you saw all the cool stuff you got to do in game 1 with it. So.
I could definitely see building around the Merfolk tribe with proliferate to go nuts that way. I like that in part because like then the 1 activation of Kumena is enough to get the ball rolling, and then you just proliferate away. So yeah, no, that seems sweet, but you would have to build the deck very differently. All right. Well, we're going to take a short break here. Can we do a 2-minute break?
Yeah, we can do that.
Let's do a 2-minute break here while we get sideboards put together for y'all. Be right back for more Verge Live. Don't go anywhere. All right, we're back here for sideboarding. I'm going to do mine real quick because it's super easy. I'm not boarding anything. This is what I would be boarding in if we weren't testing out new cards. I don't think Rowl Stormcondo is particularly good in this matchup because it's pretty hard for me to defend him. I think Rowl Stormcondo is going to shine against matchups that don't apply that much pressure to it. And so we're going to be just leaving it as is so I can get full value. Everything else, or full value out of testing it, and everything else in the deck I think is just quite good in this matchup / an integral part of the deck. If I had counterspells in this version, I think those could come out for the Cannonades, but instead of the counterspells, we have Rouse Outburst because we're trying out new stuff. So we're just going to leave in all the new cards and not boarding anything.
Well, I am boarding enough for 2 of us, so that's good.
Yeah, so counterspell is obviously quite good against me.
Yeah, and we got our Crushing Canopies to answer both Niv Mizzet and Wilderness Reclamation. Crawl Harpooner as just a reasonable threat that can also answer Niv Mizzet. And I have 1 copy of Sorcerer Spyglass, which would normally hit Escant in this matchup. You have some Planeswalkers that it can hit. So I still think it's worth bringing it in, but this is the most questionable card. I am cutting down on a lot of my synergies because I don't really want to play that game. If I just spend a lot of time, like getting a bunch of counters on things and not killing you, eventually you're going to go over the top of me, maybe infinite combo and just ignore what I'm doing. So I just have to get to the battlefield quickly. We've learned from playing Sultai in this matchup that, the Explore creatures are really good at ways to pressure you. The Curve of Wild Growth into Jadelight range are 7 power on turn 3. So we're going to keep those in. I'm cutting some of my Planeswalkers. I'm keeping all the Vivians. Vivian Reed deals with Wilderness Reclamation and Invisit. Vivian, Champion of the Wilds, lets me hold up my counter spells more effectively and then cast my threats at instant speed and play this sort of flash game. And then because we're cutting down on our synergies, I don't need as many mana creatures. So Incubation Druid, pretty vulnerable to Fiery Cannonade and Shock. Same with Evolution Sage, which is another reason I want to cut down on my synergies. Like this main payoff for proliferating matches up really poorly against Todd's removal. And then I don't want to play a super long game, so I'm turning it down to just the one copy of Hydroid Krasis because I also don't want to tap out as much. It's a really nice card once I have Vivian going and a bunch of mana, but outside of that, not a card I really want to draw.
Sure. Alrighty. Any questions while we're shuffling up here, Rob?
I believe it might have been spoiled since we started, but have you seen the new Jaya? Sorry, previewed.
No, actually. You want to read it off for us?
Yes, it's.
Can you bring it up on screen for them?
I can't at the moment. I can't. Actually, I can do that. I can do that real quick.
Yeah, let's get it while we're talking about it, and then you can read it off for us, and then we'll talk about it. Yeah, a lot of times we're in here between the hours of 1 and 4. That's like prime real estate for preview Twitter. It's always pretty interesting. I mean, you're getting our fresh evaluation of a card, which is kind of cool.
That's what happened with Wilderness Reclamation. They told it to us mid show, and you were just like, that card busted, and you just couldn't stop talking about it the rest of the show.
I do remember that.
We had all these other cards, and it was love at first sight.
What the hell?
How's the future?
Card? Yeah. All right, I'm going to check my opener. You're going to be on the play. My hand is barely keepable. Just how I like it.
Perfect. Just how I like it, too. Well, this hand has Llanowar Elves, so it's definitely
Come on! Mulligan, and I'll mulligan.
No, this hand's good.
I'm going to throw your deck on the floor if you don't mulligan. You have to turn on elf every game. Oh, you didn't have it last game.
All right.
Yeah.
So it's Jaya, Venerated Fire Mage, 4 and a red, 5 loyalty. If another red source you control would deal damage to a permanent or player, it deals that much damage plus 1 to that permanent or player instead. -2, Jaya deals 2 damage to any target. So not the most exciting, but...
So 5 mana bolts a target.
No. It says whenever another.
Oh, another.
So it just shocks and says whenever another red source deals damage to a target, it deals that much +1. So it's like Furnace of Wrath. They can shock things. I wish it had just said it included itself, and then you could just minus and deal 2.
Why does this card cost 4 and a red? When you said 4 and a red, I was like, ooh, a splashable card. Let's see what it does. And then it just only works with red cards.
Oh, yeah. That's weird.
I'm no longer excited. Yeah, it just seems... It seems fine in like limited or whatever. But
Giant Ballard is like an insanely powerful planeswalker. I don't know why they don't just give her a really busted planeswalker. Just like the previous. I know you were high up on the other one for a while, but like
I did some cool stuff.
I never saw any play because it's not good.
Just go to Fight with Fire when people were like main decking Lyra.
All right, let's go.
Let's do it. Llanowar Elves.
Fine. Go.
Got to give all the good red planeswalker cards to Chandra now.
Yeah, come on, man. Mix it up. Use your characters how they're supposed to be used. Sure. Perfect.
We'll keep that one.
It's a good one.
Yeah.
All right, I'm going to go ahead and main phase of Growth Spiral in case I draw Shock.
So here's the real question. Would you rather play Jaya or Tibalt?
Probably Tibalt. Costs 3 instead of 5. Players can't gain life. That's pretty important in some of the control matchups. All right, I should just be playing 4 Rouse Outbursts. It's literally the only card I want to draw at like every stage of the game.
Shock to 18.
Yeah, more Shivan Fires added. Probably like 6 Shocks, 1 Lightning Strike, and 4 Rouse Outbursts. Only like 2 or 3 Chemisters. We already figured it out. It's fine. We're going to have this up and running real soon.
Adonis Climb.
Yeah.
A second counter on this attack for 4. Play another Land of Werewolves.
Isn't it whenever you attack 2? Or is it? Oh, no, I'm stupid.
It's not Ordeal of Thassa.
Okay. Yeah, so I take 4.
You're at 16. You can go. Just trying to apply a lot of pressure here.
Go.
You know, you complain about me having Land of Werewolves, but you've cast Wilderness Reclamation on 4 mana every game.
Sure. Most of the time I'm casting Opt and Growth Spiral into it. You just have it and you're opening 7 cards. It's also, I'm not even doing anything. So, you know.
So I'm assuming we're getting Ral's Outburst or whatever.
I don't have it.
Or Jadelight is dying.
Do your thing.
Well, I don't want to know that because it definitely seems like you have it. Although I guess actually you probably would have cast it on your own turn.
Yeah,
right.
I'm not a dummy. I know
okay.
I know you have a negate in your deck.
Yeah. So given that is the case, how do we want to play this? So you probably just have like a Chemister's Insight. Okay.
What if I told you I have nothing?
I don't know. Play Rolesk.
Sure.
Put 2 counters here.
Great.
Put another counter here.
Yeah.
Attack for 7.
7. I'm at
You're at 9.
Yeah.
This
is turn 4, by the way.
Play another Land of Werewolves.
I want to throw that out there. Shuffle your damn deck.
You can go.
God almighty. You win. I'm just going to start cutting your deck, and then you're never going to draw Land of Werewolves ever again. I probably wasn't even dead. Whatever. I probably was dead because the winged whatever. I was going to go another Reclamation into an Explosion for 7. Kill one thing, and then I was going to die to your other thing.
Yeah, I pump the Rolesk for 8, and then 1 elf gets 3 for 9 at least.
Todd, is there any worry to you that new fairy will get adopted and that might kill reclamation strategies?
It's super annoying,
That what card will get adopted?
The new Teferi makes it so you can't play things at instant speed. You can only play them at sorcery speed, which shuts off Wilderness Reclamation. I'll say this, if new Teferi is around, that is very bad for me. Very bad.
It's a card that is pretty powerful and has gotten a lot of hype that we haven't featured yet. But I just don't know what to do with it.
I mean, it's like minus is just bounce a thing, draw a card.
Yeah, so I want to be more aggressive.
Does it even have a plus? Oh, yeah, plus is you can play things at instant speed.
Yeah, but it's only sorceries. Good. Can we play it in a Hero of Precinct 1 mid-range kind of deck? But what sorceries are we playing?
I don't know.
Do we even have to play sorceries? Is it fine as just a restrict what your opponent does and get a bounce and a draw card?
Yeah, I mean, they can't counterspell things, so your Heroic Reinforcements is busted. It's a Planeswalker that they have trouble dealing with. They can minus and bounce a Teferi, so they never they have to minus on your Teferi. They have to tap out a bunch, which I think is the important part of that card.
I don't know how important it is to get some value out of the +1.
I mean, is there a lot of just the fact that it's a 3-mana Planeswalker, and that tends to be,
Yeah, I mean, it's a 3-mana Planeswalker that is not actively bad, so yeah. If it gains popularity, that's very bad for Reclamation, and I do think it's good.
You happy now?
Yes, because you kept a terrible hand. Go.
Wildgrowth Walker.
Bottom knocked. Draw. Go.
2 basic mountains.
I have 2 basic mountains in my deck, and I drew them.
Jadelight Ranger.
In response... I'll just cast a Cannonade. So you're gonna gain 6, double explore. You're at 26, I'm at 20.
Don't think I want either of those.
17.
You can go.
Well, I didn't have it. I didn't draw the land, even though I started with 3 and cast an opt. Are you happy? You're good.
Yeah.
Yeah, actually, I'm very happy. It's actually a game I would have been pretty happy if you had gone like Elf into Jade Light. So I would have just been able to cannonade both of them on 3.
Jade Light Ranger.
If you didn't hit double land. I'm going to shock it with a trigger.
Stop killing my Jade Light Rangers.
I mean, you're going to get to hit me for 5, and I have literally no way to kill a 7 toughness creature in my deck. So
play land. You're at 12. You can go.
This is half the reason why people were playing. What's the?
I'm at 32.
Melody card. All right, you win. All right.
Yeah.
My deck didn't function.
If you brick there, I have the negate and.
I mean, I had Reclamation for 17 turns. I just never drew the 4th land.
Yeah, I know. But finally on that turn is the turn that I get to start holding up because I've applied enough pressure. Are we playing another one or going on?
I don't know, man. I'm mad.
That's 3-1. It's 3 o'clock. I think we should just move on.
All right. Let's talk about the cards because this deck is built poorly. And I don't know about Ral. I mean, I never really drew it except in game 1. I think that it's cool that combo exists, but Ral's Outburst was a card that I want to draw all the time.
That Ral's Outburst seemed messed up. One of the issues, and I had this issue with playing the deck that is against aggressive decks, sometimes you just didn't have time to take off to cast a card like Chemist's Insight.
Right, and this is kind of like putting a removal and Chemist's Insight together.
Yeah.
And that's pretty huge.
It's like drawing a free lightning bolt off of your Chemist's Insight.
Right. So I'll say that this deck, Ral Storm Conduit, probably not good in Reclamation proper. Felt a little bit like the same as how Augur Bolas felt, where it should have been good, but it just wasn't, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
And obviously the 4-mana instance worked really well with Wilderness Reclamation, and I just want to draw it at all points. Now, there's a chance that there's a Ral...
Search for Azcanta.
Sure. I mean, I don't even know if I should be playing 4 Chemisters Insight with 4 Rouse Outbursts. I might just go down to 3 Chemisters. And I mean, a couple of Chemisters would have been good for helping smooth out early draws. I think I want a little more cheap interaction. I don't know if that should be Lightning Strike or Lava Coil or whatever.
Shivan Fire,
yeah. I mean, the draws where you get to go turn 2 Growth Spiral, turn 3, or end Shivan Fire or Shock on the same turn are really gross.
And then you Reclamation the next turn into Chemisters or
Rouse Conduit. Yeah, for sure. So there's a lot to be done potentially with this deck. It's possible that with either you want Rouse Storm Conduit or Niv Mizzet, but you can't afford to play both. And I think that Niv Mizzet's already proved its worth. Like, it's just so insanely powerful. And Ral adds like a weird dimension to the deck that might be okay in some matchups. So maybe boarding a couple is cool. But at the same time, I don't think your control opponents can cut their Vraska's Contempts against you because your Niv Mizzets are still there, and you might board Rekindling Phoenix or something that they might have trouble dealing with.
But it's still another option in those slots for extra threats.
Yeah.
Just depends on if it's better than the other choices. The other Ral, Legion Warboss, Rekindling Phoenix, Biogenic Ooze, there's a lot of different things that have taken up those spots.
Yeah, it makes me feel like there's potentially a control deck. I know that before Ravnica Legions, there was a Jeskai control deck that I was in love with that played 4 copies of Expansion Explosion, and Ral Storm Conduit could be good in there just because it gives you this weird combo kill late game that you might not necessarily have, and the way your deck is potentially built, you can play Ral and protect it pretty easily. So, I don't know. Anyway, your go.
On my side, we got to see the Proliferate synergies with Evolution Sage come into play in game one.
Yeah, for sure.
And I think in a lot of matchups, you're going to get to do stuff like that. And against Sultai, they don't have a ton of removal. Granted, their Hostage Shakers are going to be a big problem.
Mm-hmm.
I built the deck to push the synergies as much as possible. You're definitely going to have to find some way to get some removal in there, maybe splash a 3rd color. But Evolution Sage definitely looked very powerful there.
Mm-hmm.
We didn't get to see it in the post-board games because this wasn't the matchup for it. Sad we didn't get to see Vivian let me play the Flash game. There was a game in game 3. I had the opportunity to maybe set that up, but instead you showed weakness, and I went for the Jugular. Roelesque looked good there, just as 4 or 5 trample, put 2 counters on something. You're getting 6 power out of your 5-drop, 2 of it has haste, and the most important half of it, the big flying trample creature, they're incentivized not to kill. So that's a card that I think is quite good as far as 5-drops go. I think it's competitive with Vivian and Biogenic Ooze and the other 5s that have seen play.
It is rare that we get a card that has an enters the battlefield effect and a dies effect, right? And usually when they do, those are the cards that kind of stand out. And to me, yeah, it looked pretty good. And obviously the flying and trample part didn't even come into play, but I could see certain matchups where like flying is a big deal, or if your opponent has like a couple of healers hawks or whatever, like they can no longer protect themselves from it because it has trample. You just make it really big.
I love the idea of curving and X=2 Krasis into Rolesk. You have 8 power in the air. Neither creature is something they want to kill. They can kill a creature that already drew a card, or kill a creature that's going to turn their Krasis into a 6/6.
Right.
Among other potential things. So definitely some strong starts there that are possible. If you really want to supercharge a Krasis, Rolesk can put counters on Incubation Druid. So I was impressed. I definitely think there's some potential there. You're definitely gonna have to pare down some of those synergies. I was actually pretty impressed with Jangu there in that game. Maybe that's a card that you want to build more around. Yeah, like we said, with an aggressive list with either Merfolk based or Pellet Collector based.
Sure. I mean, I actually just think that the effect of allowing all your creatures, or the majority of your creatures, actually start tapping for mana just starts to get into this territory that is rare in Standard, let alone in Magic. And we saw that with Cryptolith Rites a few years back, and it's something that I've been kind of keeping an eye out for. And when I first saw that card, I was just like, this card might be really good. I mean, we have the Song of Freyalise that lets you do it for, effectively a turn and a half before putting a bunch of counters on your stuff. It kind of works in reverse, and they might even work okay together. I'm not sure, but I don't know. So long story short, Rao combo, probably too hard to set up, takes too much effort, and the cards are all pretty good by themselves. So, maybe in a different shell. Rao's Outburst, however, really good. I forget the 5-mana Razak. Rolesk looks pretty sweet. It's a 5-mana thing that does a lot of stuff. It's got a lot of text.
Yeah. It's got 4 abilities. Flying, Trample, ETB, dies. That's a lot of abilities to put on one card. So definitely a card to watch out for. And, whenever I build a deck like this that is just like a pile of these synergies, there's a chance that it just falls completely flat on its face and things don't come together. And this one definitely did. But, Evolution Sage, the easy comparison is Tireless Tracker, same cost, same stats, and then a landfall effect. And, Proliferate is an ability that can get out of hand pretty quickly. And, it's a little vulnerable to removal, and it's hard to fit enough. It's hard to fit other Proliferate cards, ways to get counters on things, and interaction all in one deck. So it's going to be hard to figure out exactly how to make all the numbers work. But I think if you can, there's something there.
Yeah. All right. Rob, any pressing questions for us before we go to the next match?
Yeah, Ross, did you think about Hadana's Climb in this Simic deck?
I have one.
Yeah, he has one. He played it in game, 2 or 3 and just slaughtered me. The card is pretty strong in general, and in this deck, when all your creatures get counters or whatever.
Also, in an early list, when you don't have as much interaction, having a card that can go way over the top and just end the game, I think is important. That card may end up being, once you add other interaction, it may be worse than Jangu. Mm-hmm. So that's something to watch out for because they're pretty similar effects. But it's definitely a good card in the deck just that wants to spread counters around. And then, you're going to have big creatures that you can just jump and, deal 14 in one turn. So whether you want more, hard to say, because I was impressed by Jangu, and I think they cannibalize each other for space. But, that's another card to think about.
All right. One more.
A lot of people want to know about Scapeshift landfall shenanigans, but no real serious ones.
I think that there's something to Scapeshift in a Bolus Citadel deck. I know Frank Carson talked about in his article where you can use it to do gates and Plaza of Harmonies, and you gain effectively 12 life, which lets you reset the top of your deck, thin your deck a bit, and potentially draw a bunch of cards off of Guild Summit and do some other weird stuff, right? But triple black's pretty tough. I'm not sure how I feel about it. Scapeshift in general, I think, though, is just not really a good card. It's a combo card, and if you have the right combos for it, sure, but gaining 12 life is not a combo.
Yeah. What other landfall effects do we have? What are you proliferating?
Well, that's why I said a beam.
Proliferate the Simic Ascendancy.
Yeah, there you go.
That needs to get up to 20.
I've done it in a game of limited, right? That means it's good.
It gets a counter whenever you put a counter on something.
Sure.
Is that how it works, right?
Probably something else.
Yeah.
Or it might just be creatures only. But every time you proliferate one of your creatures, it gets a counter, and you can proliferate it. So that's kind of cool.
Gets out of hand real fast.
It's pretty cool. Okay, now I'm liking it. I don't know.
You said it's a combo card. That's a combo card.
It is a combo. Okay.
Is it in a beginning of your upkeep trigger like most of those effects? Or is it just once it gets a 20?
Beginning of your upkeep.
That's it.
No, I don't like it anymore.
Yeah. You got to be able to scape shift and kill them.
I agree.
That's a problem.
Okay. All right. Well, we're going to take a short break here. We got one more match for you. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back for more Versus Live.